All right, a lot to happily and deliciously unpack here today. Some of my own personal shiznit, as well as the quality of the wine itself. This was a, what did the kids say now, triggering? This was a triggering wine for me. The rep brought it in, and I was like, oh, I know that vineyard. And it was like I had to kind of step back for a moment and be like, okay, yeah, this was a significant vineyard in my wine education at the time. And one of the first things that made me, one of the first moments in my wine life when I felt like cool for a minute. So I was 21, the year was 1992. I had been at Wine Exchange for a total of 5 months. And the new Robert Parker Wine Advocate came out. And at that point in time, you know, there was no, Al Gore had not invented the interwebs yet. There weren't any cell phones. So we waited for this little book to come every other month. And then we would like whip it up and Christmas and feverishly run through it. And my little Rain Man thing is I can remember a lot of stuff very quickly and retain it, especially when it comes to wine. So, boom, I'm looking through it, Cabernet Report, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Algren 1987 Bates Ranch Cabernet. 93 points. Okay, think back to 1992. 93 points for a domestic Cabernet Sauvignon was a huge effing score, especially at that wine's release price of $18. It was mayhem. Phones started ringing off the hook. People fighting for a wine that they had literally never heard of before. But I had. Because where I used to work before then at Jensen's, we had a strong relationship with the Burnap family, K.D. Burnap, Santa Cruz Mountain Vineyards. And Santa Cruz Mountain used to make a Bates Ranch Cabernet Sauvignon, and they knew the Algrens, so we did great business with the Algrens. I sold the 84, 85, and 86 Bates Ranch Cabernet Sauvignon at my previous place of employment. So when this came out, I'm like, yes, I know this. So it was one of the first times in the moment where even, you know, Steve, my boss, he was still like, where does this come from? And I'm like, I know. And I was able to secure a healthy allocation of this wine because it was the first time that I actually knew something in the wine business that maybe somebody else didn't. And it was very exciting. And the wine itself was amazing. So I was already familiar with Bates Ranch in the mid-'80s. I was familiar with this site. It was already making great Cabernet Sauvignon then. It is one of the great forgotten Santa Cruz Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon vineyards. Some people say it's part of a holy trinity, being Mount Eden, Montebello, and then you have Bates Ranch. But Bates Ranch only, worked with 2 or 3 kind of wine entities at the time, and they weren't super high-profile wine entities. So the wine really didn't get its name out. The vineyard really didn't get its name out. But for the cognoscenti, the people in the know, the people that knew vineyards, especially in the Central Coast area, in the Santa Clara County, Gilroy, Hollister, this whole neck of the woods, this vineyard's always been revered. Now, fast forward, someone else that does his homework. Ian Brand. I, Brand, and Family. That's the name of this particular wine on tap today. Ian is a smart cookie. He's a bit like me. He's a nerd. So he came here like in 2003, came from Utah, worked for Bonnie Doon for a while, worked for Big Basin. He's always been kind of established in this Carmel Valley, Salinas type neck of the woods. It's always been his base of operations. But he is also charmed by great old vineyards. He really is into expressing terroir, really getting a sense of sight and making really tasty, not full-blown, not over-the-top wines, but not lean wines that are perfectly expressive of their sites, of their terroir. And fortunately, Ian got into Bates Ranch. So this is a fabulous opportunity here. The block of Cabernet that he gets is arguably the best block of Cabernet, the Stagecoach block from the Bates Ranch. This is a mid-slope pack of old vines, original roots, sandy volcanic soils here, so the bug never really got to it. And a bit sheltered, actually. It's like a nature preserve almost. All the area around it's a conservation area. So the bug never really made its way there. So we have ungrafted, own-rooted Cabernet Sauvignon vines from 1968. Some of the oldest Cabernet Sauvignon in California. You want older? Sure. Go get on the listed Scarecrow at the hell Scarecrow nowadays. I don't know what it sells for. Is it $1,000 or whatever the hell? I don't even know. Scarecrow. Who else? There's one or two other old patches floating around, bits and pieces from other vintners. Kathy Corson's Kronos Vineyard. That'll set you back a few $100 at least, right? And then you start bumping into these. These are 56-year-old vines. Cabernet Sauvignon. Incredible. Ungrafted. Own rootstock. Incredible. What an opportunity. Now, rumor has it also that some of these, when these vineyards were planted, some of the clonal material came through that whole kind of Almaden, Martin Ray type area, et cetera, and rumor has it could be clonal material from, say, places like Chateau Margaux and such. Some of these early Cabernet Sauvignon plantings in the late 1800s, the cuttings were taken from the top classified growths in Bordeaux at the time. Boom. So, man, there's a lot of history here. I hope I'm unpacking it for you in the proper way, because this is very important wine for me, a very important site. And to Ian's credit, he does beautifully with this wine. This wine's 22 months aging, I think, but only about 15% new wood. All native yeast fermented. It's a real hands-off approach, and he lets this vineyard do its thing, which, if you're familiar with Santa Cruz Mountain Cabernet Sauvignons, these are not blockbuster wines. Last week, I had the pleasure, someone very special brought a 2007 Ridge Montebello to an event I was attending. And that wine, and there was a lot of great wine on the table, a lot of big ticket gear. That wine was like the wine of the night for me. It was amazing. The balance, the Cabernet Sauvignon feel impeccable. Like the wine was just like this is exactly what Cabernet Sauvignon should be. And I think a lot of the examples from Napa are like totally blown out, even though they're kind of back trailing a little bit. Like they're starting to wheel it in a little bit, but these are not full-blown wines. These are perfectly balanced, exquisite Cabernet Sauvignons from the Santa Cruz Mountains area. I love this. So you get all the details of Cabernet. Cassis, little hint of spice, but almost like red fruited, like a Cassis to red cherry. Just beautiful. Yes, please. The thing to remember with old vines, once in a while it may be about power, but as the vines get much older, it's about balance, harmony, equilibrium. This vine every year saying, I'm going to give you these, and they're really good. Don't F with them. That's what an old vine does. Hey, here you go, buddy. Every year. Here you go. Special. Really special. It's not about bigness here. Santa Cruz Mountain Cabernet isn't. This wine is not. It is sizable. It's Cabernet Sauvignon. Yes. Do you drink Ridge Montebello because it's big? No. You drink it because of its harmony. You drink it because of its history. You drink it because it provides a flavor profile that is distinctive and not like anything else. And that is exactly the case with the Cabernet Sauvignon from Bates Ranch. 55-year-old vines in the Santa Cruz Mountains. No one can replicate this. Singular wine. So pretty. So harmonious. This is going to age 20 years. Drop of a hat. Gorgeous. All right. Ian already charges a pretty fair price for the wine, $50, which is not crazy, right? And it's got scores and stuff, and whatever. You can look it up later. But just for the history itself, $50 is not a crazy price for this wine. But we are offering some super duper special click-through checkout price of $34.98. And this wine at $35, this is liquid history. Now, you may balk at liquid history with Zinfandel, you may balk at it with Grenache, but for all of you out there that do, you certainly can't balk at it when we're talking about Cabernet Sauvignon, King Cabernet, from some of the oldest vines in California. Expertly crafted by Ian. Great job, buddy. Gorgeous wine. Limited, of course. Limited to what we have, but you know what? You should have this. Anybody should have this in their cellar. Classic gear from, I hope what you know and understand now to be a Grand Cru site for Cabernet Sauvignon in California. Cheers.